encounter.
But no, actually,
It feels very
Hello and welcome to the Unwanted Opinion podcast, the show in which me and my friends give our unwanted opinions on all things film. My name is Lewis. I'm joined today with Kyle.
Hello.
And Gonzalo.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. We've had a long summer break. We've had a good few weeks off. And it's time to talk about some big summer movies. So, on today's episode, we are going to be talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is just released this weekend. So, we're going to do a full spoiler-free and spoiler-filled review for that, film which me and Kyle have seen. Gonzalo has not, but does not care about spoilers, clearly. And Kyle has a couple of mini reviews for us in between our then big spoiler discussion of the Odyssey, which I'm sure everyone has seen at this point now. So, I guess we'll just get started, guys. So, Spider-Man Brand New Day, right? It's released 5 years now after No Way Home. Can you believe that? 5 years?
That's
insane. Kind of insane. That's
because
kind of insane.
as you know, not to spoil it, these films make money.
Yeah,
which is
Spider-Man films
insane,
make money.
and it's insane that
Yeah.
we've waited 5 years. And I really believe now that after the weekend this has had, Sony will not be waiting 5 years
No,
for the next
yeah.
one.
And I feel like we'll talk about
is
Tom Holland
interesting,
and Spider-Man obviously throughout the review, but he did talk about a while ago like he was kind of not really wanting to be Spider-Man forever.
Understandably.
Which is
Especially now that he's getting like new roles in different
and
franchises
believe,
and working with like higher end directors and things of that sort.
I saw
for sure. We'll talk
something
about the
that
Odyssey later,
I think the two of them are wanting to take, two of them being Zendaya, are wanting to take some time off soon, because I believe they might want to start a family, and Tom's got his kind of bureau company that is making its rounds in the films as well. It's making its round.
Shameless plug.
Which brings up, when we'll discuss something that I was expecting to start showing up in this film, which didn't. But we can talk about that. But
we can talk about that later. Yeah. Okay, so Spider-Man Brand New Day is directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. They have done away with, was it John Watts? Directed the first three.
The first
Tom Holland Home trilogy, I guess they're called now. Destin Daniel Cretton, of course, directed the Shang-Chi films, and he's now taken the place of John Watts. And it's written by Chris McKenna and Eric Summers, and of course stars Tom Holland, Zendaya, Jacob Batalon, and of course, as you've seen the trailers, both the Punisher, John Bernthal, and Mark Ruffalo are in this film as well from other MCU projects, kind of having a little bit of crossover here with Spider-Man, because of course Tom Holland Spider-Man films could never just have Tom Holland. But anyway, so this, of course, spoilers for No Way Home. We have now kind of jumped ahead like 4 or 5 years after the events.
It seems to be a
No Way
college.
Home. That's about 3 or 4 years in America, isn't it?
So 4 years.
Yeah, because they were applying to college at the end of the last one.
So this one kind of does a pretty good thing in the first like 10 minutes of Tom Holland and Peter Parker, oh my god, I forgot his name there, kind of watching Ned and MJ's life unfold through college through like Instagram lives and Instagram videos that Neds keep posting, and that's a good way of telling you how much time has passed and kind of all the stuff they've gone through, as well as like a montage of Peter having to take down other like spider threats throughout the city. So we're kind of on the other end of college now, and Peter Parker is all alone. He doesn't have anyone in his life, and the wish worked. No one knows he's Spider-Man. And of course, Ned and MJ have completely forgotten who he is. As Spider-Man's going out saving the city, there's a whole huge action sequence where the Punisher is involved. This huge tanker thing is sort of crashing through the city and trying to get to damage control. That thing that, of course, Tony Stark set up after the first Avengers. Because someone and something wants whatever is in damage control's vaults. And this then brings us to the main threat of the film. Is some sort of entity which can go into people's minds and jump between people. And so Spider-Man is sort of facing this invisible threat and doesn't really know what or who they are. And then, of course, in the mix that you have all this character stuff, and somehow MJ gets involved in this as well. So, Kyle, there's a lot going on in this film. This is a 2.5-hour film. This is a long Spider-Man film. What were your overall thoughts of Spider-Man Brand New Day?
I was really excited going into this film, and I quite like Tom Holland's Spider-Man. It's obviously a very different one to every other one we've had so far. The Homecoming trilogy, while they are fun, they're not great Spider-Man films, I would argue. There was a really interesting interview, and I don't know if you caught this, Lewis, with Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal, who are the producers for Marvel and
the big
Sony,
producers of this.
They said that the first 3 Tom Holland films, so this first trilogy, were the first act of Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man film. And I'm like, you should hear yourself say that and realize that was not a good idea. Like, really, I can't believe they said that out loud and thought that was a good
It's also very
to
much.
say.
It's also very much not true. Like, it does, like, you get the Spider-Man origin story in the 3rd film. Like, until then, there's really, like,
it's like a weird prequel.
Nothing to do. No, but I mean, like, if they generally saw those as like an arc, there's really not a complete arc between the 3. Like, each one of, like, the first 2 have this whole idea of him trying to get out of the shadow of Iron Man.
Yeah.
And then, like, the 3rd one does something completely different. Like, there's no really, like, it doesn't really actually work as that. Like, if that is what they intended to do, which is stupid, because, like, you know, the Sam Raimi movie doesn't really get to Spider-Man until after the first act, but, you know.
So I went into this with a bit more intrigue. I thought the change of directors to Daniel Cretton was welcomed, I would say, because I think
it was
getting a bit tired of John.
I also do love the way he shoots action. I will say Shang-Chi was not a great movie overall, but the action scenes in that movie are actually absolutely beautiful.
And I would say, you know, it's similar here, that I do see that there was definitely a improvement in the action for Tom Holland's Spider-Man alone. But so getting into the film, I was speaking to one of my cousins about this, that when I got introduced to Spider-Man via the cartoon in the 90s, right? That was how I got introduced. That is what I loved the character from. And the story arcs that we got were obviously very Spider-Man, and then we got some more excitement. So when we saw the first trailer and they were talking about his genetics changing and how it's a slight mutation, and I was like, okay, we're getting to a good Spider-Man storyline. I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do here. And they really kind of butchered that storyline, I would say, to really just take tiny bits of it. When
they do that with a lot of MCU adaptations,
they really do, and
they really do.
They really are scared of doing like a simple story. Well, it seems like at this point they need to add things upon things upon things.
Yeah, I say that, but I mean, the mutant one's not really simple. But the thing that I saw is that what actually annoys me is that, like, to not go out, I won't go into much of the storyline because we'll obviously talk about spoilers. But Tom Holland came out the record, said we did try to do it, but we got a lot of pushback because it would be too scary for the general audiences doing some of the stuff that happens in that thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. Why bother with that storyline then?
Then don't do that.
If you're not going to do the main point, it's like doing the Infinity thing. Going, but everybody's going to get sad if half the universe dies. So we're not going to do that. You know, it's that sort of vibe I was getting.
Tone. If that's not the tone people, like, the producers wanted, that's understandable. But like you said, then don't tackle that at all. What I meant, by the way, with, like, the simple story, what I mean is like a 1-to-1 adaptation of a story that has and then they tend to make several stories.
They do.
So obviously,
especially in this late age, so as many people and characters as possible in every single movie.
Going back to overall, why I think this is definitely an improvement on his previous Tom Holland's previous Spider-Man trilogy. I do feel it still doesn't for me feel like a full Spider-Man film. You know, I don't go into it like I went into the Tobey films, or even a wee bit to the Andrew films, because to give them credit, they were very Spider-Man centric because of the whole Sony rights issues, to be fair. They couldn't have it, and I think that actually helped those earlier films.
Revisiting them, I actually kind of like the first one a lot more now. So honestly, it just feels like a really interesting, take on how, like, grief and violence have, like, this kind of relationship where, like, just because you do the thing doesn't mean that you're gonna be okay now. Like, it feels like a very anti-MCU story. Like, it's actually quite refreshing. I recommend viewers, if you haven't, rewatch the first Sony Spider-Man. Like the First Amazing Spider-Man, yeah.
But sorry, get back to my point. So
Sorry.
overall, I struggle with the thing where I felt the beginning of the film went way too quickly, and no, actually, sorry, opposite way around. Way too long at the start of the film, and I was a bit like, what was it? I feel the marketing for this film was also wasn't actually the best, because they teased a lot that was just. It's literally the scene that you saw from the trailer was the scene in the film. He does a lot of early stuff fighting other crimes, and it's literally a montage.
I knew that was going to be because I was like the same with Fantastic Four as well.
Fantastic Four, but like
I thought of that as soon as I saw that amount of villains. I was like, this is going to be like a montage of what he's been up to, rather than like an actual part of the plot. And they should have not had it in the trailers at all, and have it be like a fun surprise for the fans. Oh, look, there's a cameo from that thing.
Yeah, if it was a cameo, but then they could have done a wee bit more, because literally it was like a frame for some of these people. But yeah, like I said, I won't go in too much into the story, just because we'll come back to that in spoilers. But overall, I have to say the inclusion. As we talked about, you can't have an MCU Spider-Man film with just been him. I do think this is the best one, because I think his relationship with John Bernthal and Tom Holland's personal relationship with John Bernthal, just because they came up each other with acting, and the relation and how that translates to the relationship on screen with Frank Castle is the best out of any of them I've ever seen. I think they've got better chemistry than him and Tony Stark, Benedict Cumberbatch, anything. It's genuinely the best. And I mean, you said this to me, Liz, and I completely agree with you. This makes me want to see a specific, a dedicated Spider-Man and Punisher movie.
Yeah, I really like that for the next one. I hope this is kind of the feedback that the studio gets behind this. Like, oh man, everyone really likes that team up. We should really include Punisher again in the next one.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I won't go into too much, because I think for me a lot of the issues are directed towards the story. I do think, again, like they talked about it, as much as they did try, it doesn't make me feel like it's in New York. Like, I think you could really tell that this was not filmed in New York. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you could tell some bits.
Yeah, you can really tell. I mean, that's no disrespect to our home city, which obviously featured quite a wee bit at the start. But I mean, that never helps when you recognise the streets that you walk down. And not much I want to go on to, because I think a lot of my issues are story based. But what about you, Lewis? You've probably got.
I'm kind of on you. I mean, this feels like the most Spider-Man movie that Tom Holland has done. Helps that he is the main character, even though he teams up with Punisher, like in a fair chunk of this film. Which, like you say, I really like the chemistry between these characters. Frank Castle feels like he even mentions like this is too big for you, man. Like I'm Spider-Man, you're just the guy with a gun. Like he feels like the sidekick in that sort of dynamic, which works stuff. Instead of it feeling like the other way around, where Spider-Man felt like the sidekick in his own film at times. I think the character stuff, the relationship between Peter Parker and MJ and Ned is probably the best stuff in the film.
Yeah.
This is their fourth film together, of course. Cynthia and Tom Holland are married, so you'd hope they'd have chemistry on screen as well. And they do, and like that's the stuff that works best when it's really the three of them, or just MJ and Peter, and him having to navigate. Like, he has this letter that, of course, is read at the beginning of the film that he tried to say to her at the end of No Way Home, and that's sort of playing on his mind, and he carries that with him. He's like, will I ever read this to her, which I really liked. Like I mentioned at the start, this is a really long film. This is 2.5 hours long, essentially, and it is a bit too bloated for its own good. You mentioned, like, we're doing the mind control villain thing, we're doing a spider evolution thing, we're doing obviously the ramifications of the mind wipe stuff from the last film. There is a lot going on. Throw in the whole damage control stuff. It does feel like, especially the third act, I think is the weakest part of the film for me. It's like just gets bogged down with plot and twists that aren't really exciting or that surprising at all. And even like all the best action bits are definitely done earlier in the film. The third act feels like kind of a bit of an underwhelming aspect of the film for me, and it kind of goes into like the kind of like really like kind of cliched messaging like we've already seen like 100 times, especially in the superhero genre as well. That felt like to me, the least exciting or interesting part of the film is when it gets really bogged down with its plot. and like trying to do the big finale stuff, which was like, yeah, whatever. But I think visuals wise, it's the best looking of the Tom Holland films. Although yes, sometimes you could tell it's obviously not in New York. There is actually, they're on like a location. They're on big sets as well. Like a lot of this isn't blue screen. Oh look, there's New York, and it looks terrible. It looks like the color grading looks great. It looks like a proper film, unlike the other 3 Tom Holland films, which look have the proper MCU look. I think that has something to do with this being a Sony film than just like a Marvel Disney film, which helps with the way it actually looks, and like his suit looks great.
The suit, I have to say,
it feels like an actual like they're actually in locations and with.
I love the suit. It genuinely felt the most realistic Spider-Man suit because you could see he's not wearing as much of a soft shell in his in the head because you could definitely tell the features of his like ears and stuff. I know it's very small.
Did they stop with CG nanotech? Because I fucking hate
that. There's no
nanotech with the suit. It's like a very real suit. Although there is an issue I want to go into with just tech wise later. And I would say it is visually the prettiest thing, and I would say the swinging, the kind of stuff they're trying to do, they are trying to make this very kind of different to his last few films, which I do enjoy. But
but there is that.
We've never had a bloated Spider-Man film before, which is bizarre. You've never had it a few times before, and I think they fear. They kind of go, we need to do it just because it's a Spider-Man film. Every Spider-Man needs to have at least one bloated Spider-Man film. There's
always so many characters in these goddamn Tom Holland Spider-Man films. There's so many characters.
I generally feel like that is okay. A studio like Marvel and especially like Disney, who seem to be obsessed with listening to feedback in the worst ways. You'd think the feedback that Spider-Man movies have been getting since the 3rd Sam Raimi Spider-Man is there's too many villains, there's too much happening. Could we just focus down? And they really haven't listened to that at all, have they?
Well,
I
would say the poll. Yeah.
I was just saying, it was interesting. So Tom Holland is obviously taking a huge more of an executive producer role on this film, obviously as well as starring in it and being the lead character. But he was saying that they did a test screening once, and Marvel did a test screening, and they essentially Marvel came back with a bunch of changes that they wanted to do, and Tom Holland and the team read over them and went, no, this would make it worse, and they were like very firm in saying, we're not going to do this because Marvel took it to a test screening, and if we have to be completely honest, I think Marvel fans are possibly one of the worst fans in terms of what they want to see on the screen. They were probably asking for every single Avenger to show up, probably asking for Venom to show up, and Marvel were like, let's get this on, let's do the King in Black or whatever they originally wanted to do, where it was like, every Venom symbiote and every Spider-Man fighting against each other. So I am happy in the sense that I think Tom Holland took a bit more responsibility and a wee bit more of a, used his status and kind of went, right, let's make this my best one. And I think he has certainly done that. But there are clearly Marvel aspects that were integrated mainly with the villain, because I think Marvel want to start setting something up, and they were like, this is why we want this villain to be in it. And it's funny because, as we said, this is the first Spider-Man film that's really not had a Spider-Man villain.
Yes,
which
we'll get into.
Which is very bizarre.
In a minute.
I've heard this. So I'm not gonna talk about it till spoilers. But I feel like
well, let's do scores then, Kyle, and then we will get into spoilers.
Yeah, it's a 7 out of 10. Like I said, it's the best Tom Holland Spider-Man film. It's certainly not the worst Spider-Man film out there.
No.
But it's certainly not the best. I'd say it's a very average one. But if you were to ask me, like, here, do you want to watch a Tom Holland Spider-Man film? I'd go Brand New Day, because it's the most Spider-Man of his films. So yeah, that's where I would sit with this film.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same wavelength as you there, Kyle. I would also give it a 7 out of 10. It's like it's a good summer blockbuster as well. It's it's a fun time when you're watching it. Like I said, just a bit too bloated, but it's got a lot of that. Some of the action's really great in it. Some of the character dynamics are absolutely the best part of this. And yeah, I have to say I really enjoyed the the Hulk Punisher Spider-Man sequence in the film.
I think
that was actually a lot of fun.
If Punisher wasn't there, it wouldn't have been as good because Punisher being there going, this is well out of my league, is the funny aspect of that, you know?
So there is definitely some really good action sequences here, and like I say, you know, it kind of feels like an actual Spider-Man film, and visually as well, it looks a bit more authentic. Right, so let's get into spoilers, Ken. Let's talk about the villain then. And so everyone's like, who's the Sadie Sink playing? The worst kept secret. And the most obvious answer was, of course, correct. She is playing Jean Grey.
Wow. What a shock.
The fellow who's not seen the film.
It's like, I haven't seen the film. I knew she was playing Jean Grey.
Yeah.
I think if you Google it, actually, her cast actually shows up as Jean Grey.
I'm literally looking at the IMDb and it literally says Jean Grey, actually, now that you say it.
Yeah, if you look at cast, she's actually the first person in the list in the Google cast, and it just says Jean Grey.
I see on Thursday when I only saw it on Friday, but on Thursday night, I was like, Letterboxd. I clicked on the thing just to see what the bar looked up. Right, and she's cast as the second person. So when I just clicked it, I just saw Jean Grey, and I was like, "Oh, great, okay."
Jean Grey,
no shock there.
I still don't understand this whole idea of like spoilers. I still don't get spoiler culture.
Well, they did what they did in No Way Home, where they did a very obvious name drop and a wee bit of silence afterwards to let the cheers happen. You know, when they did the Andrew Garfield, if you watch No Way Home afterwards, there's a very deliberate pause,
very dead silence for the applause.
And there was no, I mean, I've seen reactions on Twitter, and obviously they're in the States because it's like her name's Jean Grey, and everyone's like, oh my god, seeing in my cinema, it's like it's Jean Grey, and somebody's like, oh. And that was it.
my cinema was like to where I saw it Thursday like 1:30 in the afternoon, so like it wasn't like it was like half full, and it's like Jean Grey, and we're just like just pure silence. It's like no one gives a shit.
The most that you're probably hearing like a Spanish shitter is like, oh, from X-Men.
American audiences are something else, like, you know,
they really are. Bigger. I mean, we've all seen the World Cup this year.
Yeah. But yeah, so like the Jean Grey thing, and that's what we're talking about prior to spoilers. We said this is like the first Spider-Man film where the Spider-Man villain is not a Spider-Man villain, and also the character Jean Grey is not Jean Grey. Like that's the weird thing about this.
Yeah.
And look, there's nothing against Sadie Sink. I actually think she does a pretty good job in this.
I just think reality thing where it's like, we're just setting up this character to then like get she's from here. There's mutants now in the MCU.
I guess we're going that way.
The word mutants never actually mentioned with her. Like the only time mutant is
it the same thing they did with Wanda and Petra?
I don't know. It's like, you know, it was described as like enhanced telepathic abilities.
Did it work? Did she work as a villain and an antagonist in this movie?
Well, she's not a villain.
Yes and no. Okay. Yeah, that's the thing, because
I know she's not a villain. This
be
like, she's doing something that seems like villainous, but turns out actually it's not.
Like she has her own modes and stuff. However, like I'm saying, this just isn't Jean Grey. Like this isn't her character.
Didn't she?
She has killed definitely a good few people in this film. I think it's a very roundabout, weird, and wrong way to introduce mutants and an X-Men character into this film.
Psychic characters in Marvel.
There's plenty of psychic characters in the Marvel universe you can use. And I just think this was. I don't know why. I really actually thinking about it now. Don't know why Kevin Feige was probably so insistent on making this the first appearance of an X-Men character in a big MCU film.
I would like to go into my thing with this, and I'll speak to my cousin about this. And what I'm actually shocked at is that they didn't push it more, because you've got a generation that have really only seen maybe the most recent MCU films, possibly Deadpool, and these Spider-Man movies.
Don't know shit about it.
You won't know who Jean Grey is.
Maybe at most the last X-Men movies that Fox did with like the young cast.
But also we're talking about we need to. You need to also reintroduce this stuff now. And I was I was talking to my cousin about this. We're talking about that even in the Miss Marvel TV show, when they name dropped the fact that she had a mutation, you had the like in the background to make it really obvious. Like, by the way, when we say this mutant, we're talking about these mutants, right? That was Marvel kind of going, yes, this is happening. There is nothing in this film to suggest that Jean Grey is anything related to the X-Men. So obviously there's all this stuff happens, and at the end there's a bit of a friendship. There's an amazing Fortnite sniper scene, and then Liz will understand. We'll come back to that. And Jean Grey goes away, and she's on a bus. And I was like to my cousin, you needed something like a letter to Peter saying, "Listen, I've found a school, or I found somebody upstate that can help me." You need something that connects us, and to even suggest, like, maybe mutants have been here the entire time, but they've been hidden. Because they've seen
you have a good point, Kyle, because like I was talking about this when it comes to like big franchises with a friend the other day, and we were talking about how like the movies that we see now, we were talking about Star Wars, but I think this applies to the MCU. Like the movies that we see now are made for kids, for this generation of kids, and it is selfish from like older fans to think that like they need to appeal to us, but it's also selfish to like reference these older movies so heavily without giving them the foundations and the storytelling context that they need, because this is for kids. Like these movies are for a generation of kids to
something
see
in here
without
that
without
those
building
kids
those foundations
to be able to be like, oh,
like, when they keep seeing them and stuff, they at least get it. They get where
see if they come out and say to their like dad, "Oh, who's Jean Grey?" And goes, "An X-Men," and goes, "Oh, like did they mention that in the film?" You need something that teases them and goes, "Oh, what was this school they're going up? Oh, well, here's this whole thing," because you want to give them something. The same way when
like you watch the prequels as a kid and you were like, "Oh, who's this Anakin guy? Oh, let me show you."
Yeah,
you know?
There you go.
It's like,
but it's just, I don't know. I mean, I feel they need something, because unless you're a hardcore fan, or even just, you've consumed all the media.
Yeah.
Even I'm who consumed all the media, I'm still I'm not convinced it's art. I don't. For me, who's convinced a lot of Marvel media, a lot of comics, a lot of TV shows, I'm sitting here going like, I don't know if that's our Jean Grey though. I don't know if that's a me, because I wasn't. I only got told that she has, because we didn't get her like classic purpley color, thing. Her powers, it was an interesting, she does get like an enhanced power ability at the end, but we get nothing else. The only teaser is that she had, but her parents didn't like the fact she had powers, and that's it. And I'm like, that's not enough. I need confirmation that this is our Jean Grey, because I didn't get that.
That also feels like, okay, so that feels like they're playing it the same way. Again, like I'm going back to like Wanda and like Pietro Maximoff and stuff, because the way they played them specifically was playing down these aspects because they didn't have the rights to them. Like they were specifically playing down these aspects because they didn't have the rights to them. There's no rights issues now. Like this is not a rights issue.
No.
Why are you playing these characters as if it's a like made for TV early 2000s show where you're like, oh, is this Batman? Maybe we'll see.
I wonder.
You know what I mean? It's like, why are you playing it like that?
I wonder if it's because of Doomsday. And they've realized, oh wait, we've got this entire X-Men crew.
They don't have Jean in this fucking movie.
This is the thing, and I'm a bit, I don't know what you think, Lewis, about
many
it.
Fucking sidekicks in my
like I was saying, I just think it's just a really clunky way of doing it, and also the fact making Jean Grey essentially the main antagonist of the film.
Yeah,
and this is where I'm talking about the third act. I was kind of like
a lot of people.
Yeah, like she's just not. And like I'm saying, it just doesn't feel like her character at all, and it's just kind of sloppy.
Also, one of the interesting things about the Jean Grey as a character in comics was the fact that she was introduced as a straight-up hero, super good guy, doing all the right things, and then
OG
the whole thing with
X-Men
Phoenix Force that changes that.
Yeah,
that doesn't have an impact if you've already known her as a villain.
I guess now like, you could be like, you could understand why, like, having this background story of her sister and the tornado, maybe like down the line of say this thing ever becomes Phoenix, some people might go, well, at least I knew where the seeds of this.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, but it also kind of feels like a backdoor pilot, in a way.
Does feel
it's
like
that one episode of Arrow where Flash shows up.
Literally though.
And that's where you get like this the third act thing where what's his name? The guy who plays like the head of damage control.
The guy from Severance.
The guy from Severance. I remember his last name, but I can't remember his Tramil Tillman. That's it. Tramil Tillman, who was also a fantastic actor, kind of like wasted in this role.
Yeah.
Who plays like a very boring man in a suit type villain, and you get to the end of the film where they get Spider-Man managed to get Jean Grey contained, and then takes her to damage control. They're already in the damage control building anyway, and so then Peter realizes, oh wait, what's actually going on here, and realizes that Trammell Williams' character William is actually has been kidnapped her sister and has been experimenting on them for years, and so he's like, oh, I've made this mistake, so he has to go back and try and save Jean Grey. And then you just get that whole scene, and that whole scene of just the villain in his lab, doing the classic experimenting and like torturing the hero or like the misunderstood character, and it's just like, I've seen this a million times, and it's just like, that's why the whole third act was kind of a shrug. And it's just it was like the classic thing where it's like, oh, you don't have to be this, revenge won't get you anywhere sort of thing, and it felt very like half baked, because it probably was half baked because there's so many other elements in this film they're trying to get in. It felt weird.
I really don't understand. Okay, so like from a greedy producer's point of view, we're Kevin Feige, we're trying to set up like, the X-Men are coming in Doomsday, whatever the hell. Why do this?
Well, this is the thing, right? So
unless they're like dropping Phoenix during Doomsday, which they might fucking do at this. Actually, never mind. That might be it. They might just want to drop Phoenix.
I don't think Sadie Six is going to be in Doomsday.
No, I don't think she is. I think it'll be a Secret Wars thing, because I don't know if you've seen, right, but they have.
I haven't seen the Secret
There
Wars
has
show.
been, as of now, 2 official castings for the X-Men, which is Sadie Sink as Jean Grey and the girl from Ready or Not. That's just completely escaped my head.
Emma Frost.
She's been cast as Emma Frost, which is really annoying. It's just escaped my head. Has been cast as Emma Frost, and those are 2 official. So they are doing. They are starting to move the X-Men, and it's interesting, Val, because if you. So I was talking about this with my friend, but. Maybe last year I read the Rise and Reign of the MCU book, which was a really interesting book from a guy going into them and asking interviews, and eventually to the point that Disney told people to stop giving this guy interviews because they realized it wasn't a all positive story. And there's a really good interesting part where obviously Kevin Feige started out his career under working a lot of the X-Men films. So that his passion is the mutants. So he's, I would think he gets the mutants in. That's when he's kind of taking a back step, and I think that's why he's really pushing it here, because it's just his love, and he really wants to get these people going, and he wants to become popular. And apart from that,
also, I was just thinking about other things in the film. The Hulk thing kind of doesn't really make any sense either.
Do you know what doesn't really make sense? Is that Peter should have shown up as Spider-Man, because he would have at least remembered him as... Hulk will have remembered he worked with Spider-Man.
Yeah, because from the last movie, the only people who forgot who he was is the people that knew him as Spider-Man and Peter Parker.
They only forgot Peter Parker. Because obviously, it's, in Multiverse of Madness... Wong and Doctor Strange will acknowledge that they worked with Spider-Man against the multiverse threat. So everybody remembers Spider-Man, and they remember there's interactions. And the funny thing is, Peter has no issue just walking around in his costume. Like, he walks into buildings and stuff. Why didn't he walk into that...
The NYU
or whatever it was, and gone to Bruce and be like, "Hi, Bruce." He goes, "Oh, Spider-Man." And he goes, "Hi, you know my condition, right?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I know your condition. I don't know who you are, but I know your condition, mate." And he goes, "Sound, can you help me?" "Oh, of course. I'll help a fellow Avenger."
But because the Bruce Banner thing, to me, doesn't really convince me, because he has this device that keeps the Hulk at bay on his wrist. And I'm like, but this version of the Hulk is his whole thing was he's always angry. He's always kept the Hulk at bay since the 2012 Avengers film. Also, and even when he's Professor Hulk, he said, "I got the best of both worlds. I'm just going to stay like this." And then for some reason, he's back as he's just I don't know. I've seen the film and I couldn't tell you. He's just back as Bruce Banner. And of course, Jean Grey then gets into the head of Bruce Banner so she can unleash the Hulk, and he doesn't have the device anymore. But I'm just when she's out of his head, I'm like, why?
Yeah. I have to admit,
why can't you just go back to being Bruce Banner? I thought you had this whole thing under control.
I always wondered if it was meant to be something like post-snap, that maybe something when he did the snap and the gauntlet, something happened. I don't know.
Maybe.
You can say that.
At this point of the MCU, I feel like we kind of just lost the plot when it comes to continuity.
There's no continuity. It's just whatever they want.
The pressure continuity. Don't get me started on that. Like, I like him being in the film a lot, but it doesn't really make any sense if he could just cut about New York. And
it's the fact he's like at the end, he's like, he's going to a psych ward. I'm like, to be fair, you did have him as a professor, which is a risky move. And I'd say, do you know one cameo that I think I knew was going to be there that I found really fun? Was Florence Pugh's Yelena showing up in a very actually quite funny sequence. I have to say, where I
always like her whenever she's on screen.
She's like, for content, Skinfallow, he goes to her office, which is essentially a spa. So she's in a bath, and he comes out in his mask and just in his pants. Very reminiscent of like one of the suits you can get in the Insomniac games. But it was quite funny, and I gave it credit there. But yeah, so I mean I do have to say, two things I want to quickly say before we wrap up this. Right, one, I was very surprised how much I actually did like the Punisher in this, because obviously I knew the Punisher from his very R-rated stuff, and I was slightly worried about how he would translate. It's fine. Don't care about it. It's brilliant.
It does work.
The second thing,
I feel like also they have such good chemistry as actors together.
They really do. I would highly recommend.
I was not worried about them together, honestly. Even in the Odyssey, I was like them together.
The guy that does like the hot chicken wings things. John Berthel and Tom Holland do one. Brilliant. I would highly recommend watching it. The last thing I want to say that really, really peed me off, right, is at the end of No Way Home, he leaves his rugged apartment that he's clearly sewn his suit together. You see, like, the sewing machine. I'm like, we're getting a really raw Peter Parker. When I say within the first 2 minutes, he has the most high-tech apartment in New York City with a 3D printer, 18 screens, and an AI, to the point that he's like asking the AI to stop a YouTube video at some point. I'm like, how are we still going back to one? And like I've said, I was going to put this as my review, Lewis, and I think you will appreciate it. Never since. On the basis of sex, have I been confused with how someone makes their money? Right?
How do they make the money? Peter Parker's on a job. What's going on here?
So that's a reference to film Gonzalo, to which I do not understand how they make the money. And
I know that film. I've sadly watched that film.
And I'm sitting there going, how is he making money?
I was genuinely surprised. I thought, within the first 15 minutes, like, we're going to see him do like his pizza delivery job, or like working in like a university, or just anything, or photography, anything. And he doesn't have a job. He doesn't have a job.
Do you know what's so funny? It's like people were saying like, "Oh, I'm really glad we're getting this kind of like the sad Peter."
I don't want to make it political, but I have a feeling that it has to do with the fact that now everyone who is in the film industry and makes movies has not gone through that shit. Like, generally, I feel like there's a really a lack of understanding for what the daily life of people actually is. Because rewatching the Sam Raimi movies, seeing the grittiness and the shittiness, and I rewatched them recently because my partner is watching them for the first time, so we have been rewatching them and stuff, and goddamn, it really, it's great. It's fucking great seeing that shitty apartment and, the pizza delivery and, Peter just looking like an absolute fucking twat with his little moped and his pizza, helmet. I kind of miss that.
I missed that aspect of Spider-Man, but yeah, I
am surprised that was a complete oversight on their part to give him, where does he get his income from, and also yes, Zendaya's MJ's her whole thing is she's trying to find a job after post college, and presumably Ned has a job, but they have a pretty sick apartment, and I know it's a product placement again, but he's also got a PS5 Pro.
Does it?
In the background, just see whether he's got his PlayStation 5 Pro.
It's a Sony movie.
He's got the Sony. He's got the Sony Flip phone.
Yep, he has a flip phone.
There was an insane beer, which is his non-alcoholic beer placement in a shop, which was so just in your face.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
But, I mean, so
how many Sony televisions did you count in the film?
I think all his computer screens were maybe Sony.
All Sony.
But yeah, so quickly, I mean, we'll talk about the end credit scene, which I don't think actually me or Lewis have seen.
I didn't see it.
I know it. So during the film,
why did you see it? Do you guys walk up every time the movie ends?
My cousin saw it first, and I asked him, "Is it worth staying?" And he went, "No."
Like, no.
Okay. So I checked up online. Yeah. So essentially, throughout the film, there is Ned makes a Spider-Man tracker, right? Which essentially people can report they've seen him, and then it will use an algorithm to pinpoint his thing, right? And it essentially ends with Ned's phone, and it's new Spider-Man location unknown, and it's suggesting that he's in space. Yeah. Right now, one thing that I'm it appears that Spider-Man's located somewhere in outer space. One thing I find is hysterical is who's used the app in outer space.
That's what I'm asking.
Because the idea of the app is somebody has to has to go, I've seen Spider-Man here, and I just love it if it's when the Avengers I'm just going to mess with his app and go.
Yeah, that's going to be a complete oversight as well. No one in Doomsday or Secret Wars is going to be opening the app. There's no time for that nonsense.
I have to admit, see if they bring out if it is Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool's there, and he just does a wee scene where he goes, I need to put this on the app.
That would work. He's the only character that would work really
that would work with.
The only character who could do it. They're not going to do it.
I will say we do have to talk about the very, very end of the film where Peter Parker meets Ned in the diner.
Yeah.
Or the shop, whatever. And obviously Spider-Man's interacted with Ned, and MG knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But she's the only person who knows that now. And of course he goes up to Ned, and he does his handshake that somehow subconsciously Ned remembers and can do as well. Yeah. And then the film ends with Ned saying Peter. Now, I don't think he remembers that he's Peter Parker.
No.
I think that's just him, because earlier in the film, MJ lets it slip. She goes goodbye, Peter, or be safe, Peter, when he's swinging away. And Ned goes, he goes, Spider-Man's name's Peter, and then Zendaya's oh, whoops, I shouldn't have said that. And obviously him doing that handshake, I think he just clocks that this is the guy he knows me because we've interacted in the Spider-Man things. Oh, you're Peter. I think some people are taking that as somehow that means Ned's remembered who he is. I don't think it's that at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a muscle memory thing.
I'm still forgetting what the exact parameters of the fucking spell were.
It was just anybody who knew him forgets he's Peter Parker.
Do they forget Peter Parker as a human being? Do they forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man? Or
no, they forget Peter Parker as a human being.
Peter Parker as a human being.
It was just they forgot who Peter Parker was. So it's just all that's out.
No, I get the muscle memory. That's
which I actually quite liked, because there was a scene earlier on, which with Zendaya, where eventually you find out that Jean Grey was inhabiting her, and there was a whole thing where she goes, "Wait, did I know you? Did I da?" And I was sitting there going, "Please be a thing, because I cannot have it." That
this is how kind of was that. There's no way that's how it's working. And then of course it plays out,
which was I have to say was a pretty mean thing that Jean Grey did. That was very mean. That was a bit.
This isn't Jean Grey. She's horrible.
That's pretty anyway. Right,
Kel. You got a few minutes to quick fire.
I'm going to do some quick fire reviews of some 2026 films that I've seen. So the first one is Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. This is a sequel to the 2019 movie called Ready or Not. Essentially, at the end of the first film, the main character defeats her family that have this kind of deal with the devil, and essentially, now that she's survived that, the higher-ups of the higher council have a chance to play for the seat, right? So essentially, when one of the families die, all the High Council will have to essentially play a game to see who can take over the seat again. So she's brought
Just
back into
wanted
it,
to-
and
basically.
this time she's actually brought into it with her sister, who is Samantha Weaving, who we just talked about. Samantha Weaving, who's going to be an X-Men, going to be Emma Frost. Catherine Newton, who's going to appear in another film, plays her sister Faith, and they have to survive again. Overall, really, really fun. Elijah Wood's in this. Sarah Michelle Gellar's in this. They actually, it was actually a good wee time. It was a fun film. I really liked the first one. And they really play in the silliness of this wee pact with the devil that if they break the rules, they will just combust. Which is also good fun, and that's currently on Disney Plus. I believe both the films are. So I gave that a wee 7 out of 10. That was good fun. Next is another film starring Catherine Newton. So funnily enough, last week I was at home and I turned on, and on Sky Cinema was the last 20 minutes of Jaws, and I watched that and I was like, God, this is such a good film. This is such a good film. It's like, God, do you know what? I miss a shark film. And we just saw that on Friday there, a new shark film came out on Prime Video called The Devil's Mouth, and Hannah, my partner, really likes shark films, and I was like, you know what, I want to...
It was Shark Week, I think that's what it does.
Yeah, it's like, I have an itch. I had an itch for a shark film just after
the last itch that needs scratch.
My God. So... I'll go quickly tell you the thing. So 5 friends explore the Devil's Mouth cave system in Thailand for one last adventure before life in the real world begins, but they soon discover that something is hunting them under the water, fast, silent, and deadly, in the suffocating right, anyway. So they all go to this cave system, and there's a bull shark there, right? The only credit I give this film is that majority of the film they're in the water because it's a cave system, so they're just swimming around.
Oh yeah,
that's the only thing I give unique about this film, and that also it has one death that is not related to a shark. It's related to drowning, and I actually was like to Hannah, that is, you know what, give them credit for that because that's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
The rest of this film is goddamn awful. Catherine Newton, who she was in that. I really prefer her when she's in supporting character roles. However, I remember her in Ant-Man Quantumania when she just went, "Don't be a dick," and I was like, "Yeah, God, you're really not that good." But yeah, this is genuinely a really terrible shark film. Where you've just got just really annoying characters that you're actually kind of really hoping they do die, and it just ends so bad. There's no tension with it. The shark's just a bit too much, and it's there's nothing fun to this film. It's a 1 out of 10. It was really, know when you get like a
I heard a 1 out of 10 this show in a while.
You know when you have a bad shark film, but it's actually kind of good. Like it's a fun,
bad
because
it's like so
film.
Campy and stupid. You're like, I'm having a good time.
It's almost like a Moonfall where it's like really bad, but you're having a good time
blue
with it.
One,
but yeah, Deep Blue Sea. That's a prime example of a really good bad shark film.
Terrible, but it's kind of like you have a fun.
This wasn't. So yeah, 1 out of 10. The last one I want to say is I also watched on Prime Video, which is where Devil's Mouth was Masters of the Universe. Now I had seen a few He-Man and Masters of the Universe cartoons when I was a kid, so I am familiar with the characters.
I know him from She-Ra. That's about it.
Yeah, this film is fun, man. This is actually it's a fun film. It's really kind of keeping the campiness of that kind of visual cartoon and the characters and everything, which I do quite fun. It does have the kind of slightly, I say, generic thing of main character goes to Earth and they have to get him out of it, sort of thing. And I they didn't spend too long on Earth, so I got away with it, and it's actually kind of funny because like he knows who he is. So he's on Earth and he constantly is on dates with people telling him that he's like this Prince of Etheria and he has this magic sword of magic cat, and they're all like, wait, whoa, wait, what? So I actually I like that part because it's different from he's like, wait, what do you mean I'm a prince? Where are you taking me? It's a fun film. It's pretty standard. Everybody actually does a pretty good role in it. This is where it gets a bit awkward because I said in my review that the best part of this film was Skeletor, the villain, who was portrayed by Jared Leto. Sadly, I saw this film a few days before the allegations and the BBC Panorama documentary came out.
God, I hope this one keeps him down. We've had allegations for years, to be honest.
I think Lewis and I have both watched that.
I watched the Jared Leto documentary. Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane that he's came out and just denied all these things, and I'm like,
Yeah.
mate, this is the evidence is
Yeah,
getting,
it's mounting.
the horns getting louder, that sort of thing. So what I it's a real shame because hopefully.
Did you take that review down?
I did change it. I did. I did I like posted a thing saying, by the way, I've now seen that thing. Whoops.
Yes.
So I really hope if they ever do another one of this again, just recast Skeletor because he's CGI'd the whole way.
It's easy though, like the whole thing.
He's CGI'd the whole way.
And you just need someone to do an impression anyway.
If the writers keep the campiness of that character, anybody could do it. And I really hope so.
I bet they are kicking themselves, just like because you can't tell it's Jared Leto. You can't even tell by the voice it's Jared Leto. They are probably just like, oh, imagine if we just casted anyone else.
I know.
It wouldn't have ruined this for.
But also,
Jared Leto thing is still surprising.
Why were you casting him in the first place?
Why were you casting him in the first place?
This is my. And I'm really interested to see because his band, 30 Seconds to Mars, is a big UK tour, which I think was mentioned maybe in that documentary list.
It was. They are touring next year, I think.
And I'm really interested to see what happens with that because there was a lot of videos of how he interacted with fans on when he's doing that tour as that band. Really disturbing, and I really hope it's cancelled because I really think this guy needs to get.
The thing is, with Masters of the Universe, it's definitely not getting a sequel anyway. Because it didn't
do well.
No, it didn't do well. And do you know what? I have to say, I'm putting this in the category with Transformers 1 and Dungeons and Dragons of films that actually surprised me and I think should have had a sequel. They deserve. They're in that wee category of films.
As soon as you described this film, I was like, oh, this reminds me of D&D and Transformers 1.
It's a 6 out of 10. I don't have as much nostalgia for the source material, but I do appreciate that they were really keeping to it, and it's not like original Mario where they were doing something stupid with it. That's my. I had watched a couple more films. So that was just my wee recap.
Nice.
Right, so for the last 15 minutes, right, because obviously we never got to do an episode on this. We did our Nolan ranked episode, and then we're off for a couple of weeks because we were all away and Kel was busy with exams and whatever else. But let's talk about the Odyssey for the last 15 minutes here. This is a full spoiler-filled review. I mean, the book's been around for thousands of years, and also you've probably seen the film by now, so there's no point in trying to
I don't
see any of this stuff.
Spoiler-wise, that this movie can really like nothing in this movie was like, oh, I can't spoil that, except one thing at the end, that could be portrayed as a twist. But it wasn't really anything other than that. I don't think.
So. Very quickly, everyone knows the story. Odysseus and the Greeks won the Trojan War. Odysseus and his crew are trying to get back home. They think, okay, let's go this route, we'll get home faster. It does not go to plan, and somehow Odysseus ends up exiled and trapped on this island with Calypso for, in the film, it's about 10 years he's trapped on the island. The Greek War was 10 years in itself, the Trojan War, I should say. So he's been gone from home for 20 years. Penelope is pining for his return, and the suitors are getting more aggressive and more demanding that she picks up a new husband. In the meantime, Telemachus, her son, is desperate to try and find his father, so has to go off on his own quest to try and find some information about where Odysseus could be within the Greek islands.
Still alive,
Yes, and of course, for the whole time thing, you jump back to the 20 years that have passed. You jump back to the whole Odyssey itself. The book kind of goes in flashbacks as well.
Yeah,
so it kind of follows quite similar structure.
Meteorite full on.
Yes, it does.
You started with the princess and that whole thing.
So I don't know who wants to start with this. We don't have a lot of time left. So I know Gonzalo will probably talk for the whole 15 minutes if I let him start.
I can talk about Okay, I'm going to start by saying this is a good movie. If you haven't seen it, which most people have at this point, if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's a good movie. It's a good cast doing a really good job. I have a lot of issues with this film. I don't think it's a bad film. I just have a lot of issues with them, and I get very frustrated because I know it could have been so much better. Because I like Nolan as a director, because I like his work, there are certain decisions that were made for this film that very much irk me. I will just I don't know if I want to go into all of them, but
I mean, we'll have our top 10
Yeah.
of the year, which I imagine probably Odyssey's
Yeah.
going to appear.
Odyssey. Yeah.
So there will be more time.
There'll be time to talk. I don't want to go too into it, but one thing that I just cannot get over is the costume design for this film.
Every time
You're completely messed with the trailer.
I know it's so funny.
I'm sorry.
Every time you say this, it reminds me of the Alfred Murillo thing where he's a film critic, a future critic for school kids. And I'm just picturing you going to like a school kids thing of like the nativity, and
that's what this movie
they would not be wearing a
like.
super dry jumper in the nativity, like something like that.
This kind of vibe, like it generally gave the vibe of a movie with a way smaller budget when it comes to the outfits. Like I really am incredibly disappointed because they could have done anything other than this and it would have been more interesting. I'm not one for historical accuracy. I don't give a shit about historical accuracy. You're retelling a myth right here. So like it's fine if you don't want to dress these people as they would have been dressed during the Bronze Age. That is okay. Why do they look like they bought their outfits at the fucking Spirit Halloween? Like it is insane. Like
I don't think they're that bad, Gonzalo.
No, I can't. From like the men, like the Agamemnon Batman, the helmets.
Oh, Darth Vader, that was sick.
Yeah, that's and like when Tom Holland's character Telemachus is visiting the King of Sparta and they're just walking around shooting birds and talking. Every time I look at them, are they wearing bulletproof vests?
Because it's clearly like metal.
The fact that no, it's not metal. It's very much not metal. The fact that he plays the Punisher and he's dressed up as the Punisher during half of this movie there's like a lot of decision making that really does surprise me because he was clearly Nolan when you talk, like when you hear him in interviews and stuff, he really cared about like getting you back to this time period. But he only cared about it in certain aspects and was completely blind to it in others. I don't mind historical inaccuracy, but make it interesting. This was not interesting. This was just kind of generic and cringe. And and this is just my talk about the costumes. I'm not going to talk about any other aspect of the movie. That's my main gripe, my biggest gripe. It's not the thing that makes the movie bad. This movie could have been good despite its horrifying costume design. But I really, as someone who works in the visual arts, I am so disappointed in the costume design because I've never had an issue with costume design in a Christopher Nolan film.
Yes.
Like the biggest complaints might be the redesigns to the Batman costume during the trilogy. It was like, oh, I like the neck, oh, I don't like it. Like that's the biggest kind of thing I could have gone into. But like he's done historical films before. Oppenheimer looked great. Like there's certain things where like I'm not looking for historical accuracy. The back of the helmet for Agamemnon looks really cool. The whole idea of like the golden thing. The idea, I understand, dressing him different than everyone else because you want to have him as this like looming presence. The idea that barely seeing his face. But there's also certain custom design things that go contrary to the message that Nolan is trying to give in this film. Like the decision to make the Trojan helmets these flat things that don't let you see the face underneath. He's actively trying to humanize the Trojans in this film, but also uses costumes that makes them look like stormtroopers. Like it is very puzzling that some of the decisions when it comes to the visuals of this film. Like that is my main thing. Like as someone who like works in visual media, like I don't know, I thought I've seen Christopher Nolan movies where like the visual language is really good and it works really well to communicate. I feel like the costume design and some of this set and location design, it really goes counter to the story that he's trying to tell. And do I have issues with the story he's trying to tell? I do have issues with the story he's trying to tell. I do have issues with the downgrade in characterization of most of the characters. Like most of the cast and most of the characters in this movie have nothing to do. And if they weren't the incredible actors that they are, because let's be honest, the acting in this movie deserves a lot of attention because they were given barely anything and did a lot with it. Like these are actors that are clawing at the page to find characters for their characters to actually be. It does like add to that sense of what feels like a lack of care in some aspects when there was so much care put in others. Like the way they shot this on a very specific ratio with these huge cameras that were designed for this, the way they cared to make most of the effects be practical, things like the Cersei pig transformation, that was gorgeous to watch. Like there was so much care put into certain aspects of this film that it really does bother me so much that certain other aspects seem to just be abandoned in the way that they are.
Okay.
Like that is what really bothers me, because I was really excited for this, and this is a director that I really do love. Like certain parts of this film were absolutely beautifully made, like wonderfully made, and hearing some stuff from behind the scenes of the production also does leave me quite wanting, because apparently the way that things were done behind the scenes when it came to some of these locations was also incredibly thoughtless and disrespectful. Like not only shooting on Sahari grounds with a permit from the Moroccan government, which is in a way, accepting this illegitimate claim of a foreign land. Like there's a lot of issues there, but also like apparently, and this hasn't been, I haven't seen anyone report this outside of Italian newspapers that I had to like translate through Google, but apparently they like some of the places where they shot were wildlife reserves. They had permits for them, and they left a lot of trash and debris behind that's now floating in Italian wildlife reserves. So like it is strange to me. There's this weird dichotomy that bothers me so much, because there's so much intention and so much love and care put to some of the film aspects, like the filmmaking aspects of this film, and then others are just like it feels like reckless abandon. And so that's what would hurt me the most when it comes to this film. Again, not a bad film by any means. I was expecting so much better. That's my main.
With that, like you're talking about the shooting in Italy and leaving a bunch of debris behind.
Yeah.
Is that and
I don't know how much is that responsibility of
how much responsibility is that on the director to clean up that stuff?
Is
that more producer? Is that more top?
I have no idea how it was done. Like that's the thing. Like I'm not saying this is Nolan's fault. Like I'm not blaming Nolan for this. Like he is one man in charge of a huge production. I have no idea what went on behind the scenes on like who's in charge of what. I'm just saying that like it to me speaks to this weird dichotomy of like some of the most care and intention that I've seen anyone put into a film, and some aspects of this film just feel like they weren't even thought through.
I will say things with the characters though.
Yeah.
I mean, some things are restricted to its runtime and the big cast you have. Like things have to be sort of stripped back, which I understand. I know we're kind of talking on negatives thing. I give it a 9 out of 10. I kind of just jump into scores anyway. And in my review, I think the only thing, and it's a thing I had trouble with in the story itself when I read it anyway, and that is Telemachus' journey in the story as well.
I will say that I don't blame Nolan for that. Like he gave even more of a journey to Telemachus.
Yeah, because it's so superfluous to the entire story. Because he goes and it's like it's that thing. It's almost like when people say that thing about Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, where it's like if Indy wasn't involved, the whole plot would have unfolded itself. It's exactly the same as saying the whole plot would have unfolded itself without him doing absolutely anything in the whole film.
About Telemachus that I think. Okay, so I'm not a scholar. This is from having read a couple of different translations of the Odyssey. I was a big classics nerd when I was a kid. I'm not a scholar. I don't know if this is actually true, but from my point of view, it seems like the incredibly sexist, like the society that was Mycenaean Greece, the idea of coming home just to his wife didn't feel like. I feel like the reason Telemachus exists is just to make Odysseus look better. Like he has a son heir because that's a thing that you want to have for your rule to continue. But you can't give Telemachus anything because otherwise you're taking away from how cool and awesome Odysseus is. So like in his return, in any other story that we would tell nowadays, for example, it might be the like we might tell the story of how like his son actually is the one who like saves him at his time of need, and now it's the passing of the torch kind of thing. But because Odysseus needs to be the character and he needs to be the one to actually do the stuff, it does really like, and that happens in the original text. I feel like that was the changes that I did like, is that Telemachus feels to have a little more agency.
Yeah,
in
he
this
does a
one
bit more.
than
Yeah.
he actually does. Like in that aspect, I think Nolan did a good job of giving him something to do, and the way they changed the time, like the arrangement of time as well, where like he goes to Sparta right before that happens, so it creates the sense of urgency and stuff like that. And it gives a reason for him to not have to, you know, he didn't want to go earlier because he feels like his mother's unsafe in these situations, blah, blah. Like, it creates a little bit of, like, trying to justify it, but it does feel, I mean, Telemachus as a character, they at least give him a nice emotional scene with his dad when he realizes it's his father. Yeah, in the original text, he cares more about the dog than he does his son. So, like, it is, like,
Well, but the translation I read, Telemachus
acting.
discovers that Odysseus is the beggar, and they both like start crying. In the translation I read, like they both.
The translation I read, he just discovers it, and that scene is interrupted by him seeing his hunting dog, and then having a very emotional scene with
the dog.
Yeah.
Right, okay, we've got 5 minutes left, right? Yeah. What were your thoughts on the Odyssey?
I loved it. Sorry to follow. So I've not had any kind of exposure to the Odyssey. Well, I say that obviously every hero's journey
everyone's
is
had
an
a little
exposure, but I've never actually read the classic text. I've only recently just started listening to Emily's translation of it on Audible, which has been great.
I've heard that's a really good translation.
It's like I said, it's handy having just watched the film, but just in terms of just filmmaking, Nolan just shows that he's the best at it at the moment, to be fair. In terms of making something feel huge, huge on scale.
He's very good at spectacle.
Visually gorgeous. I have to say, the whole on, you know, as a sailing guy myself, see, whenever I see that boat on the water and they're just sailing it, I'm like, brilliant. And I'm just, you know, it's just actually real, and it's nothing on like a terrible little pool with the volume around it. And you know, we're actually literally going to be sailing in Greece in like 3 weeks, and I'm like, I'm going to be I'm going to be unbearable on that trip, because I'm just going to be quoting the Odyssey, and
you got to rent an actual long ship.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to
slaves to row for you, and
I'll be like, I'll see you guys in 10 years, which is so funny because obviously having no kind of prior knowledge of it, I didn't realize 7 years of his journey was stuck on an island. I actually kind of found that quite funny to myself. I was like, oh wow. But yeah, no, I just really enjoyed it. I thought everybody's performance was great. I really liked the story. I really liked the guilt that Odysseus was feeling with the Trojan War. And like, I've seen a lot of kind of people on and online about Zeus's Law, and people comparing it to Troy, which obviously very famously Nolan was very close to directing. And you know, a lot of people kind of talking about the design choices, and how, especially within the horse, and how like beautiful that he made the horse, and how obviously like in the Troy adaptation it's very rugged and put together because it's meant to be like the scraps of the ships. I really like this version because I thought this one looks like a gift. Like, if I was to look at, you know, somebody put the two and they were like, oh, the Troy one's so much more realistic. If I was the Trojans and I looked at both of them and I was like, well, that one looks rubbish. That one I can accept as a gift to a god.
See, that's the kind of decision making that I wish it would have gone harder on when it came to the visuals. Like, impracticality for the sake of just looking cool. I would have loved more towards that rather than like they're trying to make things look gritty and realistic. They're not realistic, but you know, the kind of like, if you think like PS3 era shooter game realistic, you know.
And
like,
then
I really did like the horse. It was nice.
Yeah, the horse was awesome, and I have to say, so obviously all the boat stuff 10 out of 10. The Cyclops, insane. I have to admit that one of my favorite scenes, especially in the IMAX, was when obviously they come out of the horse and this is running up to the gate and he chucks the torch and it goes down onto the dark thing, and then visually the swarm of the Greeks are just there, and I was like, ooh, I like that.
That was pretty that was such a good shot. He used it twice.
I know. I know. I remember it came back in a flashback.
And I get it. I was like, I would have used it twice.
See when it came back again, and it was like a wee thing. I was like, oh, again. I get it. See again.
to me one of the most memorable shots in the and one of the most memorable scenes. I really do love how the very limited soundtrack with like the very rough percussion really
really like the
creates a
score.
sense of anxiety during that. Because they're gonna sack Troy, but
Yeah,
you still
we know we're
feel
gonna do
the
it.
anxiety and the rhythm coming up to it. That's just a really good scene.
I really loved it, and I felt leaving with that kind of sorrow of Odysseus and you know the law of Zeus's law, which I've been quoting daily, and it's the idea, especially with now I obviously I don't know much about the actual story. See the thing he does with the bow,
Yes,
where he does the warning shot.
Yeah.
Is that something that's in the story as well?
I don't think the plucking is part of the story. I think the plucking is an addition, which I do like.
Because I like it, and especially for me, it kind of doubles back on his grief, or his guilt of we really went against the gods with the whole Trojan horse, and so I really liked it. And I have to admit, see when he plucks in the final scene as the bigger when he does it, and I have to admit, I was like, whoa.
Yeah. See, this is my thing where like I have this dichotomy because I fucking love the plucking. I love it so much, but it also goes against the entirety of the characterization of Odysseus as a person, because like him feeling bad about tricking someone is not a thing.
I get.
We're talking about Odysseus as a low-key character. The whole honorable thing, like I don't have an issue with it because it's a change. I really don't. I'm just saying it's a change. This is not one of the problems I have with the movie. Like I do not mind reframing source material and changing things around. That is fine. It's just it is really funny how like it goes in the face completely. Like it feels like Nolan wanted to tell a story with a completely different character and he just chose Odysseus to do this, and like a lot of the stuff, like, to me, this movie would have been better without as much Odyssey as it has in it. Like, the main crux of the film, the most interesting parts of the film are the parts, to me at least, that he makes up, you know? The thing about the regret, like you were saying, that scene, the whole turning Athena into a PTSD flashback person, essentially. Like, all of the stuff that has to do with that is very interesting to me. And it was the part of the movie I liked the most, but it's also the least to do with the Odyssey. And the scenes that he recreates from the Odyssey don't, to me, seem to have much to do with this. Like the way he changes, for example, the meeting with the Cyclops, the way all of that is changed and reframed seems to even contradict, at least in my view, the kind of message that he's trying to put forth of this rule of hospitality being broken. And you know, essentially in the world and stuff. Like there's certain things.
But I don't think it has the message hit home hard enough without that Odyssey stuff. Because I think there's Odysseus, there's the Trojan War Odysseus and the Odyssey Odysseus, and then there's the Odysseus post
that gets home.
The one who gets home.
I'm not saying we spend too much time with the travel. That's sorry, I'm explaining it poorly. What I mean to say is that the stories that were chosen from the Odyssey, because there's hundreds of different stories from the Odyssey that were not chosen. The stories that were chosen from the Odyssey, some of them, in my opinion, work towards the message, and some of them don't have much to do with that message or add to that message. The traveling to the land of the dead works. Cersei works really well with that kind of thing. But there's things to me like the Sirens, which I know it's a very iconic one. Also, why are they just naked ladies on a rock? Where the fuck wings? Not important, just my pet peeve. But like the Sirens, the
Giants Island is. I actually think you could cut that.
Yeah,
I really don't think it adds
anything to it. And the Cyclops, I think could have added, but the way they did it and the changes they made, I don't think are.
I'm a fan of the Cyclops.
Get rid of the Cyclops. Change the writing around the Cyclops. Also, I don't think I don't know if it's just me, but I know Nolan always has a really high pace editing style. Like he always has. He always goes very like, oh, we're getting through the fucking blood. Let's go. That's the thing. We saw him, like, the max thing to me was Oppenheimer. And it was done beautifully. At the beginning part of this movie, there's certain cuts that irk the fuck out of me. They hurt. They physically hurt.
I think that's the thing.
Especially,
Like you talk about the way his editing style
yeah.
is. I think Nolan's films is like the first 20 minutes are probably the hardest parts of films because you have to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
into
yeah.
the
The
language
pace.
and the pace he's going at.
Yeah.
And I think the most awkward parts of his films typically are the
This
first 20
starts.
minutes. And then once
And
you're in it, you're in it.
they hurt me.
I think.
They
I think.
generally hurt me because
Yeah.
I wanted to breathe in these moments and
Mm,
these things that were happening, and he
mm,
would just not let me
yeah.
take a breath.
Yeah.
And not in the same way where, like, in Oppenheimer, to me it worked really, really well. In
Mm,
this one it doesn't. And there's even moments where I feel like he's cutting the silence between performances.
yeah.
Like in the scene where Telemachus, I forgot how it's pronounced in English, he goes to see the king of Sparta, Menelaus, the brother of Agamemnon, and he's retelling the story of Odysseus.
Mm,
During that scene where he's actually talking, it
mm,
felt to me like we got cut in between the silences and the
mm,
breaths that he was
mm,
taking.
mm,
Like there's a like I understand that this is a long movie and you want to get to it, but it really does feel very artificial at the beginning. And until you get to that scene where it retells Troy, from then on the movie works for me, timing and editing wise. But
yeah.
before that, it
It's cool.
feels kind of and I've seen this movie twice already, so I was like, maybe I was just in a bad mood, maybe I was having a
Mm,
bad day. Let me like recenter it and watch it again because I generally really wanted to love it, but
mm,
God, there's parts of the beginning of that film that just do not work. And
mm,
again, the characterization of Odysseus, I don't mind that he changed it completely, but it is really interesting. Why are you telling a story about a trickster who has an ego problem if what you want to tell is a story about a PTSD veteran who
mm.
feels bad about the trick he pulled, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. I love that story. I
Yeah.
think it's really
Yeah.
cool. It's just,
Mm. I said in my written review as well. It's like it's
yeah.
like blending Achilles's feeling in the Iliad and
Mm.
Odysseus. It's blending those characters together.
Yes, it very much is. It very
Um,
much is like, what if Achilles made it through the war and was
yeah,
it
yeah,
really does. And it does, yeah. And
yeah,
that packed with the decision of taking all these incredibly interesting female characters from the Odyssey and just flattening it down into cardboards felt a bit icky. Because like the most interesting character arc of the film is Odysseus.
yeah,
And he really is the only one to get a character arc.
yeah, yeah.
Like no one else does. And a text written by absolute misogynists did a better job at writing, women with deep characters than Nolan did, and that's kind of annoying because like even that really interesting, and I don't think he did it on purpose, because like even that really interesting decision of making Athena be this ghost of this girl that got killed,
Mhm.
even that decision is taken away from like one of the most powerful and influential goddesses of all the story and making her a
Mhm.
victim.
Yeah, yeah. I
Like
get what you mean by that.
like the raid, that wonderful scene at that end, because like I love the scene where he's crying and reaching out to her while he's talking to Penelope.
Yeah.
Peak cinema, amazing. Holy crap, if it's sexist. Uh, like you're taking a goddess down to a victim. The entire flashback raid, none of the soldiers have faces. The
Yeah,
men are just things that are
yeah,
being killed. And we keep cutting back to women being
mhm,
murdered with the
mhm,
women screaming.
yeah,
Why is it tragic when women get slaughtered in
mhm,
their homes, but
mhm,
men don't get that tragedy
mhm,
of being
mhm,
slaughtered in their homes? Because
mhm.
they're also there. We don't
Yeah,
see any man that isn't a soldier. We don't see just random citizens. It
yeah,
keeps using women screaming as that signal to war is bad because
yeah,
innocent women die. That
yeah.
just feels icky. And
A
again, I
bit
don't think he
old,
did that
bit
on
dated.
purpose. Yeah.
Mm.
And it's weird to me that a text like the Odyssey, again, it's incredibly sexist
Mm,
because it's so
mm,
complex and you can put yourself in understanding, like
mm,
evaluating the time period and what it's trying to say,
mm,
has more depth and
mm.
is less flat. It
Yeah.
really feels like what if the Odyssey was filtered through American exceptionalism at
Yeah.
some point, you know? Like that's what kind of bothered me. It really flattens everything. And
Yeah.
it's not coming from a point of, hey, the original text is fantastic, don't ever change
Uh,
it. Some of the most interesting things done with the Odyssey have been adaptations
adaptations.
that reframe it, that
Mm.
change it, that like
Yeah.
talk about something else. I love the Coen brothers, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Mm.
That's an adaptation of the Odyssey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking nothing to do with anything. Not historically accurate. It's very fun. The song slaps. But you know what I'm saying? Like it is interesting that is his take on it. That is what really surprised me. I expected more from Nolan because he's always been obsessed with storytelling and time and our perception through it. And
I think that's what he's mainly focused on, and that change that comes with it. And I think these other things, I think no matter what he was going to do, there's definitely going to be flaws and.
Oh, yes, for sure. Yeah, always things to criticize. It's an adaptation. There's always going to be things to criticize.
But on that note, we will wrap things.
Yeah, sorry. I can talk about this. Again, it is a good movie. Go watch it. I wouldn't be talking this much about it if it wasn't at least good. Like, I don't care this much about God.
If it was terrible. I say that to your Gran Turismo review or something.
I was just really had to watch that. God damn.
Right, we'll wrap up there. So thank you, Gonzalo, for joining me.
Yes, that's a 7 out of 10 for me, by the way.
Okay, and then thank you very much as well, Kyle.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll be back next week, probably talking about something. I don't know, I've not planned it yet. We'll get to it when we get to it. But we just gave our opinions on the Odyssey, The Devil's Mouth, Masters of the Universe, and Spider-Man Brand New Day. But at the end of the day, those were our unwanted opinions. Thank you very much.